I wasn't expecting Caitlin Clark to be coming back this early, but ESPN put out an article earlier this week kind of summing up. They was predicting Caitlin Clark to be back by August the 12th. Now, this just came out of the pipeline of the Indiana Fever front office. Let's pull it up right now.
The Golden Goose is returning, and the basketball world is collectively holding its breath. After weeks of silence and rampant speculation, Caitlin Clark's injury status has been updated to a game-time decision, sending shockwaves through every corner of the WNBA. The Indiana Fever's franchise star, the league's undisputed ratings magnet, and arguably the most influential athlete in women's basketball, is finally lacing up her sneakers once more.
Caitlin effing Clark is a game-time decision. She is a game-time decision. She is, as far as I'm aware, someone said she's listed as questionable on the app. Someone said on the app she's listed as questionable. But she is a game-time decision, apparently. Look, if we're gonna be honest, no, she's a game-time.
When Clark hits the court again, it's more than just a player coming back from injury. It's the revival of the league's relevance. The WNBA has been limping along in her absence, watching viewership numbers plummet like a meteorite. But now the cavalry is arriving, and everyone involved, from players to executives, knows just how much is riding on what happens next.
Clark may be back, and that will leave a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games left to get ready for the playoff run. Right now you're looking at the Atlanta Dream or you're looking at the Phoenix Mercury, which should be very interesting considering all the plots around that.
Here's the brutal truth nobody wants to admit, but everyone knows. Before Clark went down with a groin injury on July 15th, Indiana Fever games were averaging a staggering 1.81 million viewers. The moment she left the lineup, those numbers tumbled to 847,000, a 53% drop that hit the league like a freight train carrying nothing but harsh reality.
Argue this intelligently. No one person means as much to their league, whatever league it is, as Caitlin Clark means to the WNBA. And no person has done more for their league than what Caitlin Clark has done for the WNBA. Patrick Mahomes does not mean that much to the NFL. Steph Curry does not mean that much to the NBA. LeBron James does not mean that much to the NBA. She is a monster. When we look back on this, Caitlin Clark will be for the WNBA what Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were for.
And it gets worse. National WNBA viewership across all games plunged by 55% while Clark was sidelined. Let that sink in. More than half the league's television audience disappeared because one player couldn't take the court. That's not just star power. That's economic dependence on a level that would make any business executive break into a cold sweat.
You can't tell me that the Caitlin Clark effect isn't real. You knew when news broke yesterday that Caitlin Clark was going to be out for a few weeks, that ticket prices were going to go down, but I never expected them to go down 71% for the rivalry game. I can't help but laugh because the first thing that I thought of when I saw this was a quote that we got last year from Angel Reese when she was talking about how people don't just watch the WNBA for Caitlin. They watch it because of her as well. Hate to say it, those numbers don't lie. They're watching because of Caitlin.
The ticket market told the same devastating story. Fever games that once commanded an average of $137 per ticket with Clark in the lineup suddenly dropped to $80 bargain basement experiences. When the Chicago Sky visited Indiana without Clark and Angel Reese, tickets that previously sold for $86 plunged to an embarrassing $25. Even marquee matchups saw prices collapse, from $210 down to $95 for premium seats, while the cheapest seats tumbled from $86 to just $25. Teams that had shifted games to larger venues expecting Clark to play were left holding the bag when she couldn't suit up. The Washington Mystics relocated their contest to Baltimore specifically to accommodate Clark's crowds, only to watch ticket prices nosedive from $41 to $14 once she was ruled out.
Sky tickets dropped 71% on TickPick after Caitlin Clark injury. The get-in price for the Chicago Sky versus Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever game was $86. After Caitlin Clark's injury announcement is now down to $25. And you Angel Reese fangirls will still believe and think that Angel Reese is the reason why people are watching the W.
Sports economist Ryan Brewer projected that Clark's economic impact could reach a staggering $1 billion this season. And these aren't just inflated numbers for headlines. That includes merchandising, tourism, television deals, and everything else that comes with being a cultural phenomenon who transcends basketball. Her presence alone was valued at roughly $340 million for the Fever franchise, elevating them from a below-average organization to the league's most valuable property. The ripple effects of her influence extend far beyond Indianapolis.
We're on the verge of seeing Caitlin Clark become bigger than the sport herself. WNBA viewing attendance is up over 200% since she joined the league. The Indiana Fever actually are outselling the Pacers, averaging over 17,000 attendance per game. That's crazy. $1 billion is the estimated increase in WNBA valuation based on Caitlin Clark alone. $1 billion. Now, this is up about 25% from the total economic value. Crazy to see these kind of numbers. I think we're on the verge of seeing something like MJ Tiger, where the average consumer goes to the TV because of somebody.
When Clark plays on the road, ticket prices jump by an average of 140%, with resale averages hitting $312. Out of the 10 best-selling WNBA games on StubHub this season, every single one involved the Fever. Dick's Sporting Goods reported a 233% increase in WNBA merchandise sales compared to last season, while Fanatics saw all WNBA merchandise surge over 500%. Clark ranks among the top 20 selling athletes across all sports and sits sixth among basketball players, including NBA stars. Her Nike deal reportedly nets $28 million over 8 years, an astronomical figure compared to her $76,535 WNBA salary, highlighting the massive gap between her value to the league and her compensation.
Caitlin Clark's agent, Aaron Kane, said Caitlin will never be paid what she's worth by the WNBA because it is quite literally impossible for them to pay her what she's worth. An economist at Indiana University Columbus calculated that Caitlin Clark was responsible for $36 million in economic impact to the city of Indianapolis, and that she is responsible for 27% of the entire WNBA's economic activity for this past season, including attendance, merchandise sales, and television. One player in a big league responsible for 27% of the economic.
Here's what makes Clark's impending return even more dramatic. The Indiana Fever have been operating in full crisis mode since she went down. Both backup point guards, Eric McDonald and Sydney Colson, suffered season-ending injuries in their August 7th game against the Phoenix Mercury, forcing the team to sign 12-year veteran Odyssey Sims on a hardship contract. Despite these setbacks, the Fever managed a respectable 6-4 record over their last 10 games, including a dominant 92-70 victory over the Chicago Sky with just 9 available players. Kelsey Mitchell stepped into the point guard role brilliantly, dropping 26 points and 8 assists with only 1 turnover against Chicago. Aaliyah Boston posted video game numbers, shooting 78% from the field over a 4-game stretch without Clark. But here's the uncomfortable truth everyone in the organization understands. This is borrowed time. The Fever can survive without Clark, but they cannot thrive. They cannot become championship contenders, nor can they sustain the massive television audiences and ticket sales that transformed them from irrelevant to indispensable. Sophie Cunningham herself admitted it. There's a stark difference between the team with Clark and the team without her.
If you're wondering about Odyssey, she is a guard, 5'8". She's a veteran, 33 years old. This is interesting. She's been an all-star. She's also was 2019 All-WNBA, 2014 All-Rookie Team. She's had some good seasons in here, folks. No, she doesn't have a great history with the three-point shot. But if Caitlin Clark is coming back...
Clark's recent appearance on Subbird's podcast revealed the psychological weight of carrying an entire league on her shoulders. She admitted feeling the responsibility of being out there, knowing viewership and ticket sales drop dramatically whenever she's unavailable. The pressure goes beyond basketball performance. It's about understanding that hundreds of jobs, millions in revenue, and the trajectory of women's professional basketball hinge on her health. A text from her mother during her latest injury revealed the crushing expectations she faces daily. "You've taken so much time for everybody else. You have to take time for yourself now. This isn't a typical injury recovery. It's a superstar learning to balance personal health with economic responsibility for an entire ecosystem built around her." Clark described the unique challenge of returning without the luxury of a training camp. "It's not like I have a training camp to build up to playing my first game again. No, you're tossed into game 30. Go try to play well." She's navigating the stop-and-go nature of soft tissue injuries, while knowing every missed game represents massive financial losses across multiple organizations.
Active and playing 4 games and then not, and not feeling the best, and then frustrated of how hard I worked in the off season, and then all I do is rehab and continue to do this process. And just trying to trust that the best I can. And obviously there's really frustrating days, and there's days where it's a little bit easier, and you're very, very motivated, and you're close to the finish line of getting back and being back. And then it's not like I have a training camp to build up to playing my first game again. It's no, you're tossed into game 30. Go try to play well. It's hard.
When Clark finally returns, and all signs point to it happening very soon, expect absolute pandemonium. Her comeback game will likely be one of the most watched regular season WNBA games in history. The last time she returned from injury against the New York Liberty on June 14th, the game peaked at 2.8 million viewers, becoming ESPN's third most watched WNBA broadcast ever on ABC. WNBA viewership is already up 21% compared to the 2024 season, despite Clark missing 19 of 32 games this year. Non-fever games have seen an impressive 37% increase, showing the league has expanded its audience beyond just Clark's fan base. But everyone knows the real fireworks start when she's healthy. The timing couldn't be better. The Fever currently sit 5th in the league standings at 18-14, firmly in playoff position, but needing every win to secure their postseason spot. They're riding a wave of confidence after dismantling Chicago without their star, proving they can compete at a high level even under adverse circumstances.
Caitlin Clark just helped deliver a major statement win. On Saturday, June 14, Caitlin Clark returned to the court for the Indiana Fever after missing 5 games due to a quad injury. The Indiana Fever handed the New York Liberty their first loss of the season, and Caitlin Clark was at the center of it. She made a return with force, leading the charge on both ends of the floor, and she came back in dominant fashion, putting up 32 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. Just shy of a 30-point triple-double in a 102-88 win over the New York Liberty. Now, even NBA's own LeBron James took notice, posting the CC effect.
The business implications of Clark's return are staggering. ESPN Networks, which saw a slight dip in WNBA viewership before Clark returned last season, experienced massive gains once she was healthy. Games featuring Clark now average 1.3 million viewers across ESPN platforms, up 7% from already strong baseline numbers. ESPN Vice President Flora Kelly highlighted Clark's importance while emphasizing broader league growth. "We love Caitlin Clark, and we think she's phenomenal, a generational talent, but the expansion happening outside Fever games is something many are missing." Even so, 21 of the 24 WNBA broadcasts that drew at least 1 million viewers last season featured Clark. The timing coincides perfectly with the WNBA's new $2.2 billion media rights deal in 2026, shared between NBC Sports and ESPN, with both networks betting heavily on league growth anchored by Clark. Teams across the league have already adapted strategies around her drawing power. The Dream, Sun, Wings, Vegas Aces, Washington Mystics, and Chicago Sky have all moved home games against Indiana to larger venues to meet demand. When the Fever visited Iowa for a preseason exhibition, it produced the priciest ticket of Clark's career, with resale prices topping $1,750.
Caitlin Clark continues to crush the viewership department and bring in those big ratings. This is from ESPN PR. This past Sunday, ABC aired another of its most watched WNBA games ever with the Indiana Fever's win over the Dallas Wings. It averaged 2.1 million viewers and peaked at 2.5 million viewers. WNBA on ESPN is up 7% from last season, man. What? The numbers are crazy. The numbers are crazy. She's a draw.
Here's what makes Clark's return so urgent for the Fever organization. Despite having consecutive #1 overall picks in Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, their championship window is narrower than most realize. The WNBA's salary structure and competitive balance make sustained dominance nearly impossible. The Fever need to capitalize on Clark's rookie contract, and the momentum she's created before other teams catch up. Coach Stephanie White understands the stakes. The margin for error when you're facing championship-caliber teams is razor-thin. The Fever made aggressive offseason moves to surround Clark with veterans like Dana Bonner, Natasha Howard, and Sophie Cunningham precisely because they know this window may not stay open forever. Clark herself set the tone before the season. "My expectation is for us to try to win a championship." That wasn't idle talk. It was a statement of intent from someone fully aware of her unique position in sports. Early season dominance, including a 93-58 victory over Chicago with Clark recording a triple-double, and competitive showings against defending champion New York Liberty, proved the Fever belonged in championship conversations.
I've seen Caitlin Clark since the beginning of July. A lot of people had predicted for her to be out around the end of August, but this is a great update, seeing that she could possibly play tomorrow going up against Paige Beckers. Now, we know they have been having this crazy narrative about Paige and Caitlin, Paige being better. Everything will be put to bed tomorrow, I pray, Caitlin.
When Clark returns, she's not just coming back to play basketball. She's returning to a league where every opponent knows their careers, salaries, and relevance are tied to her performance. Other players are panicking because they've realized the uncomfortable truth. The WNBA's growth isn't about collective success. It's the Caitlin Clark show with supporting characters. The league has spent decades trying to build a sustainable product, but Clark's absence revealed they'd accidentally created a house of cards. If one injury can single-handedly crash viewership and attendance, what happens with the next? What happens when she retires? These questions keep WNBA executives awake at night. Clark's comeback coincides with a packed schedule already causing injuries across the league. She's returning to face top-tier competition on national television, with every player watching to see if she can recapture her pre-injury form. The psychological warfare has already begun, and her return is the opening salvo in a battle for the soul of women's basketball.
2.1 million average viewers to watch the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, take on the Dallas Wings. ABC airs another of its most watched WNBA games ever. WNBA games ever. Ever. Ever, forever, ever. ABC's fourth most watched WNBA game ever. More than 120 regular season and post-season games. More than 120 regular season and post-season games. This is more than most WNBA Finals games, including last year.
Clark's return carries significance beyond sports economics. She has become a cultural touchstone, attracting fans who never previously watched women's basketball. Her games regularly outdraw NBA playoff contests, and her appeal crosses demographic boundaries that traditional WNBA marketing never reached. The Caitlin Clark effect has transformed women's basketball into must-see television, but it has also created unprecedented pressure. She carries the hopes of every player seeking higher salaries, every broadcaster invested in women's sports, and every fan who believes this moment signals a permanent shift in the sporting landscape. Her ability to draw 1.3 million All-Star votes, compared to 96,000 just 2 years ago, demonstrates her unparalleled connection with audiences. Her games set attendance records, break TV viewership benchmarks, and generate the kind of mainstream media attention the WNBA had only dreamed of. The league is about to get its golden goose back, and the entire basketball world is ready to watch what happens next.